So hey guys, welcome to a new episode of എങ്ങനെയുണ്ടായിരുന്നു.
യെസ്,
നീണ്ട ഒരു ഇടവേളയ്ക്ക് ശേഷം
എത്രയായി? 2 മാസമായോ 3 മാസമായോ?
I think last was in August, I think, right?
Towards end of August we released, and then unfortunately നമ്മൾ കുറച്ച് തിരക്കിലായിപ്പോയി.
ഇപ്പോഴും കുറച്ച് തിരക്കാണ്.
Yeah, so obviously Rajeev here and Nikhil is hosting, but Pillai is not in this episode. So he may not be in some of the future episodes as well. അവൻ ഒരു നീണ്ട അയാൾ കഥ എഴുതുകയാണ് ബേസിക്കലി. He's pursuing his PhD, so he's a little busy. അപ്പോൾ അതിൻ്റെ ലാസ്റ്റ് സ്റ്റേജിലെത്തിയിരിക്കുകയാണ്. So we wish him all the best for his paper presentation. But yeah, so as and when possible, he has assured us that he will join. But we also അതിൻ്റെ ഇടയിൽ നമ്മളും കുറച്ച് തിരക്കിലായി. ഞങ്ങൾ ചെറുതായിട്ടൊരു
ട്രിപ്പൊക്കെ പോയി.
അതെ. സോ വി ഹാഡ് എ ലോങ് ബ്രേക്ക് ബേസിക്കലി. അപ്പോൾ എന്താണ് എനിക്ക് ഇന്നത്തെ നമ്മുടെ അജണ്ട?
ഇന്ന് നമ്മൾ 2 സിനിമകളാണ് സെലക്ട് ചെയ്തേക്കണത് ഇന്നത്തെ പോഡ്കാസ്റ്റിന്. സോ രണ്ടും ഒരു സിമിലർ ജോണർ ടൈപ്പ് പടങ്ങളാണ്. ഫസ്റ്റ് മൂവി ഈസ് കിഷ്കിന്ധ കാണ്ഡം ആൻഡ് സെക്കൻഡ് വൺ സൂക്ഷ്മദർശിനി.
ഐ തിങ്ക് നമ്മൾ മലയക്കോട്ട് വാലിബന് ശേഷം ആദ്യമായിട്ടാണ് ജസ്റ്റ് ലേറ്റസ്റ്റ് ഇറങ്ങിയ പടം നമ്മൾ അടുത്ത ദിവസം കാണുന്നു, ഇമ്മീഡിയറ്റ്ലി അതിനെ റെക്കോർഡ് ചെയ്യുന്നു. ഐ തിങ്ക് വൈൽ മലയക്കോട്ട് വാലിബൻ ഫെയിൽഡ്, ദിസ് വൺ ഹാസ് ലാർജ്ലി ബിൻ ഐ തിങ്ക് ഒരു
ബട്ട് ദിസ് വൺ ഓൾസോ നമ്മൾ ഫസ്റ്റ് ഡേ കഴിഞ്ഞിട്ടാണ്, റിവ്യൂസ് ഒക്കെ ഇറങ്ങി കഴിഞ്ഞിട്ടാണ് നമ്മൾ കുറച്ചൊരു
ഓണസ്റ്റ്ലി ഞാൻ അതും നോക്കിയില്ലായിരുന്നു. ഞാൻ നിന്റെ റിവ്യൂ ആണ് ആദ്യം കേട്ടത്. നീ പറഞ്ഞു ഓക്കെ നല്ലതെന്ന് പറഞ്ഞു.
ഞാൻ റിലീസ് ഡേയിൽ തന്നെയാണ് കണ്ടത് ഞാൻ. അപ്പം ഞാൻ ഈവനിങ് ആയപ്പോഴേക്കും നല്ല റിപ്പോർട്ട്സ് കണ്ടു. ഐ മീൻ 1-2 നല്ല റിവ്യൂവേഴ്സിൻ്റെ ഇത് കണ്ടു. അപ്പോൾ ഐ ഫെൽറ്റ് എന്നാൽ ഗ്യാമ്പിൾ എടുക്കാമെന്ന് വിചാരിച്ചു.
Oh, but theater was full or it's like whatever? I mean,
it wasn't full as such. ഒരു 90% full ആയിരുന്നു ഞാൻ.
Okay, not bad. So ഈ പ്രാവശ്യം we decided to have a different experience. So ഇവിടെ there's this theater called PVR Director's Cut. So അതൊരു കുറച്ചൊരു ഫാൻസി ആസ് തിയേറ്റർ ആണ് ഇവിടെ. It's very luxury. So ആകെ അതിൻ്റെ ഉള്ളിൽ I think there's not more than 15 to 20 seats. Just small screen. It's not a very large screen. It's quite a small screen. And all the seats are like the sofa type. And sofa type എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞാൽ it's full recline. അതായത് there are these buttons on the side which you can press and then അതിങ്ങനെ കംപ്ലീറ്റ്ലി കാലിൻ്റെ അവിടെ പൊങ്ങി ഇങ്ങനെ നമുക്കിങ്ങനെ ചാരി ഇരിക്കാൻ പറ്റും. ആ മോഡൽ ഐറ്റം. And plus there will be a menu. So you can order whatever you want, food and all. They'll give you blankets and അങ്ങനെ ഒരു നമ്മൾ ബേസിക്കലി വീട്ടിലെ സോഫയിൽ ഇരുന്ന് സിനിമ കാണുന്ന അതേ മോഡൽ ഐറ്റം, ബട്ട് വിത്ത് ബെറ്റർ സൗണ്ട് ആൻഡ് എ ബിഗർ സ്ക്രീൻ ആൻഡ് ഗുഡ് ക്വാളിറ്റി. സോ വാച്ചിങ് എക്സ്പീരിയൻസ് വാസ് obviously very nice. It was very different. This is the first time I'm doing it, but is it worth the amount of money you pay for it? I don't know, because the tickets.
ഞാൻ ഇതുപോലത്തെ ഒരു മൂവി ഈ വർഷം കണ്ടു.
ഏതാ?
വർഷങ്ങൾക്ക് ശേഷം.
ഓ, അത് കുഴപ്പമില്ല, അത് പിന്നെ
നല്ലൊരു അറ്റ്മോസ്ഫിയർ ആയിരുന്നു ആ പടം.
അല്ല, ഞാൻ പറയുന്നത് അങ്ങനത്തെ പടങ്ങൾ ഈ അറ്റ്മോസ്ഫിയറിൽ കണ്ടാൽ പിന്നും കുഴപ്പമില്ല, നമുക്ക് വേണമെങ്കിൽ ഉറങ്ങാലോ. ഇതിപ്പോ നമ്മള് എന്താ പറയാ, നല്ല പടം കാണുമ്പോ അപ്പൊ അങ്ങനെ. ബട്ട് ഐ മീൻ ഐ തിങ്ക് ഇറ്റ്സ് നൈസ് ഫോർ an experience, but unless you want to splurge that kind of money all the time, obviously not recommended as such. But I wish more theaters were like this, you know. So I think in fact Pillai, when he went to US kind of awesome, he was telling us about his movie watching experience, right? Like where he went to like a very avade idu saada theater aayirikkum chelapo, where you go and then again it's not like a huge theater, but at the same time they have these options to kind of order food and everything, and they have drinks also apparently. But anyway, so it was a nice experience, but a bittersweet experience എന്നാണ് പറയാം. So I think that was the movie watching experience. So but to speak of the movies itself, I think we just want to touch upon how
Maybe before we start, since these two movies are ഭയങ്കര thriller type and കുറേ spoilers ഉണ്ടാവും, so maybe we can split into two sections. One is spoiler free section, അപ്പോൾ നമ്മുടെ audience can hear about it, and പിന്നെ ഒരു മൂവി കണ്ടു കഴിഞ്ഞിട്ട് വേണമെങ്കിൽ നോൺ സ്പോയിലർ റിവ്യൂയിലേക്ക് പോകാം.
Okay, but I also feel it's very difficult to speak about this without spoiling it.
Just one line sentence.
I'm sure.
Spoiler free.
I'm sure we can do that. No, so what I thought is before we move into the movies themselves, we can just speak about this thriller genre as such, and then how what we feel about this genre, and like I think we've നമ്മൾ കുറച്ചൊക്കെ ഇതിനെ പറ്റി ടച്ചപ്പ് ചെയ്തിട്ടുണ്ട് ഇതിനു മുമ്പേ, but at the same time it's an interesting genre, right? Like I've said this before, and thriller as genre is interesting simply because there is that mystery element. So you don't know, like you as the audience wants to know what is going to happen. So even the shittiest of movies I felt, if you make it a thriller, you will still sit and watch it simply because you want to know what's going to happen.
Yeah,
I think case in point is like Osler and all. You it's a shit movie, but like
thriller is like very good to nee parna vala to make audience engaged. But the problem is it's very difficult to have a tight thriller with no loopholes and stuff. So if there is a thriller, if Osler or the thrillers, there is more chance that there's loopholes and stuff because it's not well made. But it's very difficult to have a thriller which is very tightly packed, and it has നമ്മൾ rewatch ചെയ്യുമ്പോൾ we can still connect the dots. So those thrillers are like really good and very hard to make.
Yeah, I think firstly I feel like obviously the story has to be really tight, because നമ്മളൊക്കെ നീ പറഞ്ഞ പോലെ we are all trying to be Sherlock Holmes at our own level, and we are like ഇതിങ്ങനെ ഇതിലെ ലോജിക് എവിടെ, ഇതിലെ അർത്ഥം എവിടെ. So it's very natural for us to think along those lines. So you are always, like you said, you're always you're on the lookout for these loopholes which you feel like this doesn't make sense or that doesn't make sense. But yeah, so story has to be really tight, and like you mentioned, I think the execution also has to be really really tight, because it makes a lot of difference, right? Like നീ ഏത് ഭാഗത്തു നിന്ന് ഈ കഥ എങ്ങനെയാണ് അതിനെ കൊണ്ടുപോകാൻ പോകുന്നത്. ലൈക്ക് യു മേ ഹാവ് ദ ബേസ് സ്റ്റോറി, ബട്ട് ഹൗ യു ഗോൺ ടു ഷോക്കേസ് ഇറ്റ്. സോ when from it coming from a book or writing to visuals is very different, because writing lipo there may not be a lot of instances where it's just silence or there's observation or there's something happening on the screen. So adine nammal screen play littittu aayi varan, that also has to be tight, but at the same time you can't make it too long obvious. You can't make it too obvious, you can't make it long drawn out where you're just like waiting for forever. Like കുറച്ചൊരു ഫാസ്റ്റ് പേസ്റ്റും ആയിരിക്കണം, and it's very very difficult genre to execute. But also at the same time it's one of those genres that you can be kind of sure that okay, people will at least sit and watch your movie. Like you're not will you watch it in the theater or otherwise is a different story, but at least like they're going to sit and watch to know, even if it is to ചുമ്മാ നമ്മളെ തള്ളിക്കറാൻ വേണ്ടിയിട്ടാണെങ്കിലും ഇരുന്ന് കാണും എങ്ങനെയായാലും എന്താണെന്നുള്ളത്. സോ so very very interesting genre. And at the same time, what's specifically interesting for me about these two movies is the fact that, and what so off late I felt കുറേ ത്രില്ലേഴ്സ് ഇങ്ങനെ ഇറങ്ങുന്നുണ്ട്. അതിപ്പോൾ നമ്മൾ മലയാളത്തിൽ തന്നെ നോക്കുകയാണെങ്കിൽ കുറേ ഇപ്പോൾ ഈ അന്വേഷിപ്പിൻ കണ്ടെത്തും വന്നു, അങ്ങനത്തെ കുറേ പടങ്ങൾ വന്നു. ബോഗൻവില്ല വന്നു.
So these three movies, Bougainvillea, Kishkindha and this Sookshmadarshini, എല്ലാം ഒരു ഓൾമോസ്റ്റ് സെയിം ടൈപ്പ് ഓഫ് there's so much similarities in these movies. നീ Bougainvillea കണ്ടിട്ടില്ല?
ഞാൻ കണ്ടിട്ടില്ല.
ഈ മൂന്ന് മൂവീസിലും ഇറ്റ്സ് ജസ്റ്റ് സ്ട്രേഞ്ച് ദാറ്റ് ഓൾ ദ ത്രീ മൂവീസ് കെയിം ഇൻ ദ സെയിം ടൈം, ദ സെയിം ഇയർ. സോ ഇറ്റ്സ് റിയലി ഇൻട്രസ്റ്റിംഗ്. നീ Bougainvillea കാണാത്തതുകൊണ്ട് വി വോണ്ട് ടോക്ക് അബൌട്ട് ദ സിമിലാരിറ്റീസ് ദെയർ, ബട്ട് ഈ രണ്ട് മൂവീസിലെ സിമിലാരിറ്റീസ് മേ ബി വി കൻ ടോക്ക് അബൌട്ട് ലേറ്റർ.
Because I do feel that like you mentioned, I don't know if it's coincidence, but like it's also become like a trend where everybody wants to make these kind of movies. I mean, I feel like producers are actively looking out for like ഒരു thriller script ഉണ്ടെങ്കിൽ കൊണ്ടുപോകാം, നമുക്ക് എന്തെങ്കിലും ചെയ്യാം. Because even that TV show that came out, Kerala Crime Files, അതൊക്കെ വന്നു, അതൊക്കെ ഈ thriller model തന്നെ. Everything is about like, and it's even more interesting in a TV show because then you want to watch every episode, because almost every episode will end in some sort of a cliffhanger, and then you want to know like, oh, what's going to happen, right? But yeah, what makes these two movies, okay, I don't know about Bougainvillea, but what makes these two movies extremely interesting for me is that I have been so used to watching thrillers where it's so thriller in the basic is you need a person who is very very like intrigued and wants to know what is happening. അങ്ങനെ ഒരാളുണ്ടെങ്കിലേ കഥ മുമ്പോട്ട് നീങ്ങുള്ളൂ. അതായത് you need someone in the movie to question things, and you need someone in the movie to look for answers. In most movies, it's easy if that person is a police officer, right? Because it's someone who is legally supposed to look into this. ഒരു പോലീസുകാരനാവുമ്പോൾ like it's a man or woman, whoever it is, they look into this. So it's so cop thrillers are very very common, right? Because cops are essentially the ones who are investigating, let's say, crimes or murders, and that becomes okay for you logically to accept. But ഇപ്പോൾ ഈ കിഷ്കിന്ധ കണ്ടായാലും സൂക്ഷ്മദർശിനി ആയാലും your main person who is actually investigating or looking into the answers are not like cops, or are not like, legally they have no right to look into it, if you put it in that sense, but they are looking for answers. And to make that to make that logically okay is very very difficult. Like, because when you watch it, you obviously also try to kind of think of it from the perspective of yourself. Like, would I do this? Were I in this position, would I do this? And then immediately I am like, ഞാൻ ചിലപ്പോൾ ഇങ്ങനെ ചെയ്തൊന്നുമില്ല, it's either too risky or it's too scary, or why would I go into that particular room at that point of time? അങ്ങനെ ഒരു ഫീലിംഗ് നമുക്ക് ലൈക്ക് സാധാരണ മനുഷ്യന്മാരിങ്ങനെ ചെയ്യോ എന്ന് നമുക്കൊരു തോന്നൽ വരാം. സോ അത് വരാതെ സിനിമ എടുക്കുന്നത് വളരെ വളരെ ഡിഫിക്കൾട്ടാണ്. And I feel that these two movies at a large level have been able to do that. To think that, okay, what they're doing still feels okay എന്ന് നമുക്ക് തോന്നാൻ ഉള്ളത് വളരെ ഒരു ബുദ്ധിമുട്ടുള്ള കാര്യമാണ്. But I feel like they've done it successfully, which is why I find these thrillers much more appealing than, let's say, a normal cop thriller. Because a cop going to investigate something, I'm like, oh, this is normal course of action. This is what they are supposed to do. So they are going and looking for it, right? Angane. So with that, I think we can move into the movies themselves.
Yeah, so then we'll start with Kishkindha. So Rajeev.
I genuinely really enjoyed the movie. It was great. I watched it in the theaters when it came out, I think about 2 months back now. Very very engaging movie, very well acted out, I felt. Very story was so tight. I was so impressed by the storytelling, the way it was laid out for us to see, and also very fresh at some level. There were some elements specifically which I felt was like, which I've not personally seen in movies before or have not been showcased previously. So I felt it was a great movie. It's basically about a father-son relationship at some level. It's also about a husband-wife relationship. It's also a story about how something like this can happen in a particular area or a region where these kind of things can happen. So having said that, I think it was a great watch. What did you think?
Yeah, എനിക്കും ഭയങ്കര ഇഷ്ടമായി. This is like this movie ഞാൻ ഉള്ളൊഴുക്കലും പറഞ്ഞിരുന്നു, ഭയങ്കര സട്ടിൽ നറേഷൻ. So this is also very subtle narration. It directly takes into the place and slowly introduce to the characters, and like a fly on the wall, like നമ്മൾ ഇങ്ങനെ slowly we get new information and we get to know what's happening in this town, what's happening to the father character, what is his background or what is the mystery around him. അപ്പോൾ അങ്ങനെ നോക്കുമ്പോൾ it's like really intriguing how they have decided to show that or how they decided to uncover the details. So that's very really nice. പിന്നെ പെർഫോമൻസസിൻ്റെ കാര്യത്തിൽ വിജയരാഘവൻ വാസ് ലൈക്ക് റിയലി ഗുഡ്. സോ ഹിസ് പെർഫോമൻസ് ആസ് എ so I'm not saying this in the spoiler free section, but his performance, what he was portraying, the condition which he was in, that was really good. And Asif Ali also did like a really subtle acting. പിന്നെ ബാക്കിയുള്ള പെർഫോമൻസ്, എവറി പെർഫോമൻസ് വാസ് ഒരു ബാഡ് പെർഫോമൻസ് ഇല്ല ഈ മൂവിയിൽ. സോ ഓവറോൾ ഇറ്റ് വാസ് നൈസ്. I think this director's second movie, his first movie was Kakshi Aminipulla. I haven't seen that movie.
Yeah, I don't think it's comparable at all because ആ പടം ഞാൻ ഫുള്ളായിട്ട് കണ്ടിട്ടില്ല. I've only seen it in bits and pieces. But it's a very different kind of story altogether. I mean, it's more like a comedy which has been taken. So it's a very different kind of movie. It's not at all comparable, but very impressive that from that he's come and taken this. So it's
so his direction in this was like really good. The screenplay was really great, and yeah, music was decent. Yeah, okay. And apna Sookshmadarshini's thoughts
nee parno adim parno.
Yeah, Sookshmadarshini also I really liked. It was very similar to Kishkindha. It was like very clever screenplay.
Yeah.
What I mostly liked about this movie is the how they try to cleverly mislead you to think about one thing, but what is really happening is different. So ഭയങ്കര ഒരു unexpected ending ആയിരുന്നു for me.
Spoiler.
Yeah, spoiler. But otherwise, yeah, it was a really fun movie. It wasn't as deep as Kishkindha, but it was still it had dark humor and all stuff, but overall it was really nice.
I enjoyed the movie for sure. It was a good movie. Of the two, I would say I liked Kishkindha Kaandam much better than this. So while like you mentioned, story wise it was great, like obviously going in directions which you guess something else is happening. I mean, it's that kind of a movie. So that way I felt it was nice. There was not like a weak moment I felt in terms of the storytelling. In terms of my issue more or less was in terms of I can't really like എനിക്ക് എങ്ങനെയാ പറയേണ്ടതെന്ന് അറിയില്ല. Like Nazriya was not bad, right? Like she was good. I'm not saying she was bad, but I could not at some level accept her as that character. So to say more about it, I couldn't accept her as this whatever housewife. Like she was not giving me that vibe because she is supposed to be like a very normal housewife who's extremely inquisitive. That I understand. Like I know my grandma is such a person. Like my grandma is not a person who goes and investigates obviously, but my grandma is someone who, let's say if she's home, she likes to know what's happening with her neighbors. She may not directly go talk to them and involve, but she'll always be like, she'll always know like അടുത്ത വീട്ടിൽ ആൾ വന്നില്ല. That stuff like that. And that I feel is a very Nadan thing, where especially when you live in such ഇങ്ങനത്തെ ഒരു സെറ്റപ്പിൽ നമ്മൾ താമസിക്കുമ്പോൾ നമ്മൾ എപ്പോഴും പുറത്ത് വന്ന് എന്തെങ്കിലും കാര്യങ്ങൾ ചെയ്യുമ്പോൾ യൂസ് ചെയ്യുമൊക്കെ അടുത്ത വീട്ടിൽ എന്താ സംഭവിക്കുന്നത്, ആരെങ്കിലും വന്നോ ആരെങ്കിലും വന്നില്ല, whatever that kind of. So that's a very common thing. So she is supposed to be like a very very homely housewife character, which I couldn't buy. Like I was speaking about this with Paru also yesterday. So I was thinking that okay, maybe എന്താ പറയുക, I am judging her based on her looks or something like that, but it's not, because I was comparing this to, let's say, someone like a Tovino visibly is different each time he performs a role. Like physically he looks different. Not just that he looks different, you also feel like he's a different person. And I think ഈ ARM-ലൊക്കെ that is a big part of it because he is performing 3 different roles. While the first role may not be like ആകെ ഒരു 5 minute എന്തേ ഉള്ളൂ, but you do feel like he's a different character or a different person. So he's obviously doing something way beyond just changing his physical appearance. So you see him in Thivandi, he feels like that typical Nadan guy. You see him in Goda, he feels like a little bit of a dumb guy. But you see him in like something else where he's done more of like a professional kind of a role, you feel like okay, he's like, you accept him for that role, like you can see him as that character. That I was not able to find with Nazriya. So I do feel that at some level that is also an acting capability. Like you should be able to convince the audience that ഞാൻ ഇങ്ങനത്തെ ഒരു ക്യാരക്ടർ ആണ്. മനസ്സിലായില്ലേ?
Yeah, I think it's some ഈ mannerism, like ഫേസിൽ മാത്രമല്ല ആക്ടിങ്. I think how you walk and how you talk to people, അത് വെച്ചിട്ടായിരിക്കും. But I think Nazriya did what she always does in all the movies. I think she did what she knows and she did that, you know, to her capabilities. So like, it's right. Not bad as such, but
that's what it doesn't spoil. It's not bad enough that it spoils the movie. Like it's fine, it works, but I felt I was something weak, like because I think you said it rightly in the sense that she's basically doing what she generally does, right? Like she's that whatever bubbly little character who's, you know, always walking around, jumping around, talking to people. Fine, but is the way she dresses, the way she's carrying herself, it's just not sitting with me. Like if you look at her husband character, Deepak. He is so much more comfortable in his role. Like you can look at him and then you're like, he's like അടുത്ത വീട്ടിലെ പുള്ളി ഇങ്ങനെ ഒരു പുള്ളി ആവാം. Like, you know, it's possible. Like you seen people like him around. But her, somehow that was not coming through. So that I felt was a little problematic.
എനിക്ക് അവര് തമ്മിലുള്ള chemistry I didn't feel that.
Yeah. It was not great as such.
I mean, ഒരു ചേർച്ച ഇല്ലാത്ത പോലെ തോന്നി. Like they both, I don't know.
Yeah. But, so that was a little problematic for me. Then I think towards the end of the movie also I had like a couple of issues, but that we can speak about when we discuss in detail. But yes, overall I would say good movie, definitely deserves a watch. And I would say that actually honestly trailer കണ്ടപ്പോൾ എനിക്ക് അത്ര ഇഷ്ടമായില്ല. ട്രെയിലറും ഇതിൻ്റെ എന്തോ പാട്ടൊക്കെ ഇറങ്ങിയപ്പോൾ I was not at all looking forward to it. I was not very impressed. It didn't make me feel like I want to watch this movie. But yeah, definitely worth your time. I think it's a good story. It deserves to be watched. And MC ആണ് directed.
MC Jitin.
It's his first movie, I think.
Second movie.
First movie ഏതാ?
First movie and the Nonsense ആണ് പടം. അത്
anyway,
I haven't seen it, but അതും
I haven't seen it either.
അത്യാവശ്യം കുഴപ്പമില്ല എന്നാണ് ഞാൻ കേട്ടേക്കുന്നത്.
I think but like fair. He's done a good job story wise. I think editing and all was tight, so it worked.
Yeah.
So now do you want to also speak about the similarities before, or is that like a spoiler thing?
I think we can go to the spoiler thing. So കേൾക്കുന്നവർ കണ്ടിട്ടില്ലെങ്കിൽ പോയി കണ്ടിട്ട് വരൂ. So both are great movies. You can watch and come back. Let's go to the spoiler section.
Yes. So ഏതാ ആദ്യം കിഷ്കിന്ധ ആണോ?
കിഷ്കിന്ധ വേണോ അതോ ആദ്യം സിമിലാരിറ്റീസ് വേണോ?
Similarities are no. We'll start with that.
So the major similarity, I think it's there in many movies. Memory loss is a common theme in many of the thriller movies. One of the best Malayalam thrillers I like is Mumbai Police.
Yeah.
So
it's pretty great. Yeah.
അതും ഇതുപോലെ മെമ്മറി ലോസ് ആൻഡ് ഇതിലാണ് പോകുന്നത്. സോ ഐ തിങ്ക് മെമ്മറി ലോസ് വെച്ചിട്ട് ഇറ്റ്സ് വെരി ഈസി ടു യുനോ ഷോക്കേസ് ദിസ് ത്രില്ലർ ആസ്പെക്ട്. സോ സം പേഴ്സൺ ഇസ് there's a person who forgets about the stuff and maybe he knows the truth about what is happening or any crime or something. അപ്പോൾ അങ്ങനെ നോക്കുമ്പോൾ it's a common theme I think in thriller movies, ഈ memory loss. And there would be one person, ഇപ്പോൾ ഈ രണ്ട് മൂവിയിൽ നോക്കുവാണെങ്കിൽ വിജയരാഘവൻ്റെ ക്യാരക്ടർ അപ്പു പിള്ളയാണ് ദ സെൻട്രൽ ക്യാരക്ടർ വിച്ച് അപർണ ഇസ് ട്രൈങ് ടു ഇൻവെസ്റ്റിഗേറ്റ് ഓർ സീ വാട്ട് ഇസ് going on with him.
Yeah.
അങ്ങനെ സിമിലർ തിങ് ആണ് നസ്രിയ ഇസ് ചെക്കിങ് ഫോർ ബേസിലിൻ്റെ ബാക്ക്ഗ്രൗണ്ട് എന്താണ്, വാട്ട് ഇസ് വിത്ത് ബേസിൽ. സോ ആ രണ്ട് ഇത് വാസ് റിയലി സിമിലർ. സോ ഇഫ് യു ഹാഡ് സീൻ ബോഗൻവില്ല, Jyotirmayi also has memory loss. So I think it's not a spoiler.
That's evident from the trailers also.
I think ഈ മൂന്ന് മൂവിയിലും സെയിം, ഇറ്റ്സ് ഒരു coincidence that all the three movies had the same, same subplot, but if you see individually the themes and what is going on is completely different, or how they have tackled or how they are trying to portray is completely different. ഈ മൂന്ന് movies. അപ്പോൾ ഈ മൂന്നിൽ I think Bougainvillea is the weakest.
Yeah, I'm sure. Right.
So there's also many similarities between Bougainvillea and this padam, but I'm not saying that because I haven't watched it. So.
Sure. Yeah, I think especially memory loss in Kishkindha Kaandam is so important, because if Appupilla's character is not like that, there is no movie. Like there is nothing to see, right? Like, so the way they've used it, but it's so convincing. I felt like you would think that, okay, so obviously him in the movie is a character who has memory loss, who's not able to remember things, but he's from a military background. So, and he's ഒരു ഭയങ്കര ചിട്ടയുള്ളൊരു മനുഷ്യനാണ്. സോ അതുകൊണ്ട് തന്നെ പുള്ളി, ആൻഡ് ഹീസ് ഓൾസോ വെരി ഈഗോയിസ്റ്റിക് പേഴ്സൺ. സോ
ഒരു മുരടനാണ്.
നാട്ടുകാർക്കൊന്നും പൊതുവെ അങ്ങനെ ഇഷ്ടമില്ലാത്തൊരു വ്യക്തിയാണ്. അപ്പോൾ അങ്ങനെ ഒരു പുള്ളി, ബട്ട് ഹി നോസ് ഹൗ ടു ടേക്ക് കെയർ ഓഫ് ഹിംസെൽഫ്. ആൻഡ് ദെൻ സോ like I honestly, like if I had to tell someone like what the story of this movie is, like I wouldn't know how to explain it to them. So I find that very interesting that അവര് ഇത് എങ്ങനെയാ present ചെയ്തിട്ടുണ്ടാവുക. Did they just give them the story, the actors, or like did they explain it to them? Because I'm sure narration is a big part of how you would convince an actor to play the role, right? So I don't know how they would have narrated the story, because it's so difficult, but it's very convincing. Like that's got to do with the direction and Vijay Raghavan's performance also. It's so convincing that, okay, you look at him, like on paper you're like, oh, ഇത്രയും പ്രായമുള്ളൊരു വ്യക്തി, എന്താ പറയുക, ഓർമ്മശക്തി ഇല്ലാത്ത വ്യക്തി, how is he sustaining, like how is he going about his life? But he's able to, and as you watch the movie you're like, okay, he's capable of doing it. Like only when he's in situations where he has no other escape is when he's like really flustered and things are going out of hand, right? But otherwise he's a very capable human being is what they're trying to show. So that was great. I think he, like you mentioned earlier, his performance was really, really good in the movie.
Yeah. Especially the scenes where he forgets, right? Like he knows some information, but he just falls down and then he completely forgets, and pullida mouth and we can see
the change,
the fear he gets and all this stuff. So it's really nice how he has portrayed it.
It was really good. I think even if we speak about Asif Ali, it's really good performance. It's probably, I would go as far as to say it's his best performance that I've seen him give in all these years. Because it's so subtle. I think just to give everybody, because we are in the spoiler section, just to give everybody a snippet of the movie. The movie is about, so, and this is also very interesting because maybe, I don't know, എനിക്ക് ഈ അറിവില്ലാത്തതാണോ എന്തോ അറിയില്ല, but I never knew that, okay, നമുക്ക് ഗൺ ലൈസൻസ് എടുത്ത് ഇലക്ഷൻ സമയത്ത് നമ്മൾ ഗണ്ണ് പോലീസ് സ്റ്റേഷനിൽ ഹാജരാക്കണം. ഇതൊക്കെ എനിക്ക് ഒട്ടും, I don't know, I mean, I was not at all aware.
I didn't know that. There's like a new information.
So, but it's like a very common thing. So the way that has been portrayed in the movie is also very, like ആ പോലീസ് സ്റ്റേഷനൊക്കെ കണ്ടാൽ you feel like a proper police station. സാധാരണ ഒരു ഫംഗ്ഷൻ ചെയ്യുന്ന പോലീസ് സ്റ്റേഷൻ പോലെയാണ് അവിടുത്തെ ആൾക്കാരൊക്കെ പെർഫോം ചെയ്യുന്നത്, which is really great. So ഇവർ so in the story they are obviously staying in a place where അധികം ആൾക്കാരില്ല. It's more of a forest area, restricted area. സോ അങ്ങനത്തെ സ്ഥലത്ത് താമസിക്കുന്നു. ഈ അപ്പുപിള്ള എന്ന് പറയുന്ന വിജയരാഘവൻ്റെ ക്യാരക്ടർ ഇസ് എൻ എക്സ് മിലിറ്ററി പേഴ്സൺ, ആൻഡ് ഹീസ് റിട്ടയർഡ്, ഓർ ദറ്റ്സ് വാട്ട് വി തിങ്ക്. he's taken voluntary retirement, but and he has a gun, so he's supposed to register his gun at the police station, local police station, but we find out that the gun is missing, is what they understand. So ഗണ്ണ് മിസ്സിങ് ആവുന്ന അവിടെ നിന്നാണ് കഥ തുടങ്ങുന്നത്. ആൻഡ് ആസിഫ് അലി വി ഫൈൻഡ് ഇസ് ജസ്റ്റ് ഹാഡ് ഹിസ് സെക്കൻഡ് മാരേജ്. So, and Aparna Balamurali is the character who's coming to the household. So, ഈ ഒരു 3 ക്യാരക്ടേഴ്സ് വെച്ചിട്ടാണ് ബാക്കി കഥ മുമ്പോട്ട് പോകുന്നത്. അപർണ ബാലമുരളി ഈസ് ദ ഇൻക്വിസിറ്റീവ്. ഷീ ഈസ് ബേസിക്കലി ദി ഓഡിയൻസ്. She is the inquisitive one. She is the one who wants to know what is happening in this house because something seems off, something seems odd about this Appupilla character who's very secretive, who's going around talking to random people. And we also find that ഇയാൾ ഒരു മൊറഡനായ ക്യാരക്ടർ ആയതുകൊണ്ട് അധികം ആൾക്കാർക്ക് ഇയാളോട് സംസാരിക്കാനും ഇഷ്ടമില്ല. Like even Asif Ali is like, he does his own stuff, so we don't really bother him. That kind of thing. So we find that Asif Ali used to have he used to be married and then he used to have a child. And then they find that the child is missing basically from quite some time. I think 3 years or something they say. 3 years or 2 years.
Yeah.
So the child is missing and that and we figure that Vijay Raghavan was the only one at home when the child went missing. That's the premise of the story. So now Aparna Balamurali is also like, oh, maybe he has something to do with the child's missing case or whatever. Right. So അങ്ങനെയാണ് ഈ കഥ മുമ്പോട്ട് നീങ്ങുന്നത് ബേസിക്കലി. സോ ടു ടെൽ തിങ്സ് ഷോർട്ട്, ബേസിക്കലി ഈ കൊച്ച് മരിച്ച്.
And Asif Ali knows that also.
Yeah, Asif Ali knows that ഈ കൊച്ച് മരിച്ച്. And this is one of the interesting things about the movie that I found, that I have never actually seen a child death on screen. In the sense, maybe we have, but like idu korchu explicit aanu because the child is shot dead. So there is
you haven't seen Mohanlal and the 2 kids movie.
Yeah, but like they are not showing the dead child or whatever, right? Like idile they are specifically showing you dead child with bullet and all. So which is like very very I don't know, I found that like interesting because I've like I said explicitly ഞാൻ അതങ്ങനെ കണ്ടിട്ടില്ല or അങ്ങനെ കാണിച്ചതായിട്ട്, because I'm sure it's like a very touchy thing, right? Like it's not an easy thing to showcase. So yeah, child has died, and child has died because of Asif Ali's first wife. I mean, child had stolen Vijay Raghavan's gun and there
accidentally
there was a struggle and then child dies. And the whole story is Asif Ali knows everything, but the still case is going on that child is missing and he's trying to keep up that face. And Vijay Raghavan doesn't know that Vijay Raghavan obviously is forgotten, so he's sitting and solving as to what happened, and he finds out every single time what happens, then he destroys all evidence and then he forgets that he found out and repeats, so he restarts again, which is so great. Like if you think about that arc, it's so great. And one of the mysteries of the movie is still that, so child മരിച്ചതിന് ശേഷം ചൈൽഡിന്റെ ബോഡി ഡിസ്പോസ് ചെയ്തിരിക്കുന്നത് വിജയരാഘവനാണ്. ബിക്കോസ് ആസിഫ് അലി ഇമ്മീഡിയറ്റ്ലി, ബിക്കോസ് ഹിസ് വൈഫ് ട്രൈ ടു കമ്മിറ്റ് സൂയിസൈഡ്, ആസിഫ് അലി immediately takes the wife to the hospital. By the time he comes back, there is no child's body, there is nothing, everything is clean, evidence is not there. So even as the movie ends, neither Asif Ali nor us know that
nor Vijay Raghavan does
nor Vijay Raghavan knows what he did with the child's body,
or exactly. Maybe he knows. I think one theory is that where he's burning, adana the
spot in
don't know.
Yeah, but either way, point being that nobody's going to look for it specifically because whatever, unless it comes down to.
And that is very interesting because so I rewatched the movie today. There's this scene where a monkey they find out, right? Initially in the interval scene they'll find out a monkey's body.
Yeah.
And still Asif Ali wants to know whose body is that. So he's still thinking about the thing that maybe that could be Chachu.
The child's body.
And
yeah.
That's really, ഞാൻ റീവാച്ച് ചെയ്തപ്പോഴാണ് എനിക്ക് ആ ഒരു കണക്ഷൻ കണ്ടത്.
No, because
Asif Ali doesn't know where the body is. So
correct.
It could be a possibility that body could have been Chachu's.
Yeah,
so
no, I think it's also a special movie in the sense that, like you just mentioned, a thriller in the main aspect and that you don't know what's happening, so you want to know what's happening. But for you to want to watch a thriller again, even after knowing what is going to happen, is the greatest part of that movie, right? Like it's the greatest success, or ആ പടത്തിന്റെ വിജയം അതാണ്. ബിക്കോസ് നമ്മൾ ഈ പടം രണ്ടാമത് കാണുമ്പോൾ you are watching Asif Ali as someone who knows a lot of things. So then you watch certain scenes, because there are certain scenes in this movie where every other month he gets a call from like some part of India, and then they're like, ഒരു unidentified child in the body കിട്ടിയിട്ടുണ്ട്, you have to come and check if it's your child. So he has to go. Now he is going with the knowledge that, you know, it's not going to be his child, because he knows that's not his child. But when you watch the movie in the beginning, you don't know. Like, you are also like, okay, maybe he's going to check if it's the child body. And whenever he sees this child's body, it's like, ആദ്യത്തെ പ്രാവശ്യം ഞാനത് കണ്ടപ്പോൾ he is so sad, right? Like, he's crying. So you are like, maybe he's crying out of relief that, okay, you know, this is not his child, but at the same time. But then when you watch again after knowing the truth, you know that he's crying because he's never going to find his child, right? Like,
yeah,
that is so
and
great.
he's also guilty to bring those people together.
Yeah.
ട്രെയിനിൽ പോകുമ്പോഴും he's standing near the ട്രെയിനിൻ്റെ സൈഡിൽ, I mean in the ഡോറിൻ്റെ അവിടെ നിൽക്കുക.
Yeah.
And he's thinking about all these things.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
No, it's so great. Like, I feel like it's a very layered performance, because his expression has to work when you watch it both ways. Like, when you know and you don't know, and it works. And he's done that really, really well. And even these certain scenes that I found where, like, Aparna Balamurali is looking into his old laptop, Chachunde videos, photos. Appoke he has this yearning inside him. Like, he's talking about his child, and, you know, he's like, അവനത് വലിയ ഇഷ്ടമായിരുന്നു, കുരങ്ങന്മാരായിരുന്നു അവൻ്റെ ഏറ്റവും വലിയ ശത്രുക്കൾ. Like, whenever he's delivering those dialogues, you can feel that yearning in him, that, you know, he's genuinely sad. So you always think he's sad because the child is missing, but then you also later realize that he's sad because the child is no more. So I thought it was a very, like, standout performance, like, exceptional. I felt he was really, really great. I think Aparna Balamurali, she did a good job, but of the three of them, she didn't have a lot to do compared to the other two, but she still did a good job. She was because she's us, basically. She's the one trying to figure out, you know, what is happening and why they're behaving the way they're behaving. So an extremely layered movie. Each time a layer comes off, you are interested to know what is happening, and then, you know, I thought it was a very, very good experience, this movie. Like, എനിക്ക് സത്യം പറഞ്ഞാൽ I don't have much to say. Like, എനിക്ക് ഇതിൽ തെറ്റ് പറയാനൊന്നുമില്ല. I really don't think anything really went wrong in this movie. Be it the performance, be it the delivery, be it the acting. And I thought it was good casting. Even small characters like അശോകനൊക്കെ ചെറിയ റോളുള്ളൂ. അശോകനായാലും ജഗദീഷ് ആയാലും ചെറിയ ചെറിയ റോളുള്ളൂ, but they all did their job so well. And they're all very professional. I guess they've been in the industry for so many years, but they did an exceptional job. And yeah, like, really looking forward to more such stories coming in, you know. It was a genuinely great watch. Like, I really enjoyed it. Yeah.
എനിക്കും it was like a perfect movie. Overall package, it's like perfect. ഒരു loophole ഒന്നുമില്ല. Only thing was, it's not the fault of the movie, but I've seen similar movies like this. International movies ആണെങ്കിലും, I mean English movies, Memento പോലത്തെ movies where there is this Memento, ഗജനി കണ്ടവർക്ക് അറിയാലോ. So it's the memory loss ഉള്ള ആള്, he investigates writing on ഈ Polaroids and stuff. So അങ്ങനത്തെ ഒരു theme I've seen before, so that's why it's not that fresh. Another movie which very similar to this is Arkarya. So I've told you also, which was, I think, released in 2020 corona samayathu, and
it was a direct OTT release, I think. I
really liked that movie. So adu oru similar plot aanu, where there's this couple who comes to their hometown, and Biju Menon and Achan, and Parvati and Sharafuddin is the couple, and there's something odd about the father, and there's this background, and there's some body finding out. Appo angana nokkumbo it was like there's many similar things about that movie and this, which I felt, which I felt was very similar.
I think that brings up a point where, like, I also feel what I really like about this movie is, like, see, so I have seen certain thrillers where you will essentially at the end of it not get an answer. right? Like,
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know if you might have seen Memories of Murder.
Yeah,
പടങ്ങളൊക്കെ essentially at the end of it you still don't know what happened. Like, you will not find out the answer because the characters also have not found out the answer. And that is very difficult for me to digest in general. Like, നമ്മളൊരു കഥ കാണുമ്പോൾ you want that closure. I mean, sure, it's a method of movie making for sure, no doubt about it. But like, when you don't get that closure, you feel somewhat off. So, ee padathil what I really enjoyed is that at the end of it, there is no closure for the specific point that you don't find Chachu's body. You don't know where it is. Like, nobody knows where it is. But I was okay. I was able to accept that it's fine. Like, you know, given Vijay Raghavan's character, that's what it is. And I think it's very nice, like how Asif Ali says that dialogue also. Maybe he knows, maybe I want to ask him, but maybe he doesn't know either. Like, you know, so that I think is specifically possible because obviously of Vijay Raghavan's character and his sickness or illness or whatever. So yeah, that way I think it was great. Like, like I mentioned, like, I'm a big fan of this movie. Overall, I really enjoyed it.
പിന്നെ മ്യൂസിക്കിനെ പറ്റി പറയുകയാണെങ്കിൽ ഇറ്റ് വാസ് ലൈക്ക് റിയലി ഗുഡ് മ്യൂസിക്. ഇതിലും മ്യൂസിക് ഓൾസോ ഐ ഫെൽറ്റ് കുറച്ച് സിമിലാരിറ്റി ബിറ്റ്വീൻ ഈ നോളൻ മൂവീസിലെ മ്യൂസിക് ഒക്കെ പോലെ
towards the end I felt like കുറച്ചൊരു ഹാൻസ് സിമ്മർ ടച്ച് ഒക്കെ ഉണ്ടായിരുന്നു.
ഹാൻസ് സിമ്മർ ടച്ച്, ബട്ട് ഇറ്റ് വാസ് ഗുഡ്. ഇറ്റ് വാസന്റ് ബാഡ്. മജീദ് അധികം മൂവീസ് ചെയ്തിട്ടില്ല. ഐ തിങ്ക് ഹി ഡിഡ് ദിസ് തിങ്കളാഴ്ച നിശ്ചയം. And so he's done a good job. I think I like the northeastern theme he did, right, for Appu Pillai. That was really nice.
Music was nice. I think towards the end also, like, നമുക്ക് ആ സസ്പെൻസ് ബിൽഡ് ചെയ്ത് വരുന്ന റിവീൽ ദ മ്യൂസിക് ഒക്കെ, ലൈക്ക് യു മെൻഷൻ, വെരി ഹാൻഡ് സിമ്മറിസ്ക് ബട്ട് വർക്ക്സ്.
ഇറ്റ്സ് ലൈക്ക് നോളൻ പടം പോലെ ഭയങ്കര മ്യൂസിക് ഹെവി ആണ്
towards the end. You're right. That was good. I think it's good watch, guys. I mean, I hope കണ്ടവരെ കേട്ടിട്ടുള്ളൂ എന്ന് ഞാൻ പ്രതീക്ഷിക്കുന്നു ഈ ഭാഗം. But I hope you guys agree with what we felt about the movie.
I think this would be in our top 10, maybe top 5, maybe.
Top 5 next month, guys. Next month, please wait for the most popular segment of the year. പറഞ്ഞ ഒരു കൊല്ലമായി ചെയ്ത് we did last December, but I think last time we did around like towards the end of November or something like that.
No, December middle
ആണ്. So I think same thing we'll do. Probably the next episode will be that only, but hopefully people can join for that. Let's see.
എന്നാ പിന്നെ അടുത്ത പടമായാലോ,
സൂക്ഷ്മദർശിനി. നീ പറഞ്ഞോ ഒരു premise of the story and then we can take it from there.
So Sookshmadarshini, what I liked about this movie is how they, you know, it's very fresh. I think the direction and the editing was like really crisp and, you know, ഭയങ്കര fast paced ആയിരുന്നു. So it's very engaging, bore അടിക്കൂല. So the movie starts with Nasriya's introduction. Nasriya's like a housewife. She's bored of being a housewife and wants to apply for jobs, preparing for interviews and stuff. And then we see Nasriya's bond with the neighbors. So neighbors in a WhatsApp group and they keep communicating what's happening around the neighborhood. And appadana, you know, Basil Joseph comes as a neighbor to Nasriya. And then initially we think that Basil is like a really nice guy, but from the starting itself Nasriya has some doubt that he Basil character and he has some mystery behind him and all. And then we see that they go to Basil's house and avada pombo Nasriya sees that Basil has his mother, and mother-um Basil ആയിട്ടുള്ള ഒരു relationship, Nasriya feels like something's off, and then she tries to investigate what's going on. And adana, you know, basic plot, like what's happening with her mother
actually has no dialogue till the end, I think.
Till the end. And I think that was a really good, you know, I think there was some dialogues, very short direction, but it was very good decision how they try to portray the mother. So basically what we know about the mother is that she has Alzheimer's, or, you know, memory loss, similar to what we saw in Kishkindha, and she is not able to, she doesn't talk much to the neighbors, or Nasriya tries to talk to her but she doesn't, you know, respond. And from the starting Nasriya sees that something is going around in the house, that Basil is, you know,
Yeah, I think that it starts with this mother's first disappearance. So the plot, whatever, I mean, what Basil is trying to show is that the mother went missing because there was some function happening or whatever. And from the beginning, as the audience, you know that Basil is not, he's not a straight character.
What is, special about this movie is that from the beginning, we know Basil is not a good person. They show everything what he's doing.
Yeah.
So ഈ മദർ കാണാനുള്ള സമയത്ത് we see that Basil is iron box എടുത്ത് വെക്കുന്നു. And from the beginning they are showing that he's a bad person, but we don't know what is happening or what is the crime he's going to do. So I think that's something different in this movie, that they are showing who's the villain, but they are not showing what is the crime. So in that aspect it's like really fresh.
So basically what happens is we think that Basil has a sister who's in New Zealand, his elder sister, and he has a uncle and he has his cousin, which is uncle's son, which is portrayed by Siddharth Varadhan. So ഇവർ 4 പേരും ഫാമിലിയാണ്, and we are led to believe that they are trying to kill off their
mother
so that they can probably get whatever land or അങ്ങനെ എന്തോ, ബിക്കോസ് അവരുടെ ഇടയിൽ വെച്ച് സ്ഥല കച്ചവടത്തിൻ്റെ കാര്യമൊക്കെ സംസാരിക്കുന്നുണ്ട്. സോ യു ആർ ലെറ്റ് ടു തിങ്ക് ഇൻ ദ ഡയറക്ഷൻ ദാറ്റ് ഓക്കെ ഇവരെന്തോ പ്ലാൻ ചെയ്തിട്ട് അമ്മേനെ എങ്ങനെയെങ്കിലും കൊല്ലാൻ ശ്രമിക്കുവാണ്. ഐ തിങ്ക് സ്പെസിഫിക്കലി ദാറ്റ് സീക്വൻസ് വിത്ത് ദ ജ്യൂസ് വാസ് വെരി വെരി മിസ്ലീഡിങ്, ബിക്കോസ് ദാറ്റ് ഈസ് വേർ യു തിങ്ക് ദാറ്റ് അമ്മേനെ എങ്ങനെയോ ജ്യൂസ് കൊടുത്ത് മയക്കാൻ നോക്കുവാണ്. അതുകൊണ്ടാണ് all this stuff is happening. And in fact at that point of time I was like, നസ്രീൻ ജ്യൂസ് കുടിച്ചു, nothing happened to her എന്ന് നമ്മൾ വിചാരിക്കും.
And in the beginning I was like, this is very predictable, I know what will happen, they're trying to kill her. So I think they like really cleverly try to show that part.
And I think what really worked was that towards I think interval samayathu something like that, this Diana comes from New Zealand and then Nazria is fully doubtful and she's like even എന്താ പറയുക ബേസിലിൻ്റെ ക്യാരക്ടർ മാനുവൽ ഒറ്റയ്ക്കല്ല, I think there's more than one person. But then immediately it cuts to the whole family, like except the mother, these 4 people. So you feel like ഇവർ 4 പേരും കൂടി ചേർന്ന് എന്തോ ചെയ്യാൻ ശ്രമിക്കുകയാണെന്ന് നമുക്കൊരു ഫീലിംഗ് വരും, which is really great. But essentially what happens, so Siddharth Varadhan's character is also like he's a doctor, UK എന്തോ പഠിച്ചിട്ടുള്ള something like that, and he's basically trying to help get rid of the body. He has found some, I think they're going to use acid and dissolve the body and then get അങ്ങനെ എന്തോ ആണ് സംഭവം. And we find at after a point in the movie we also find that they've killed off XYZ person and they're getting rid of the body also. Whatever they have acid kalakita
and the mom is missing in the picture.
Mom is missing at that point in time, so we are like maybe mom is dead, they are saying that Diana has gone back to New Zealand, whatever. So നമുക്ക് അപ്പോൾ ഇതൊക്കെ നമ്മുടെ നസ്രിയെ എങ്ങനെ തപ്പി കണ്ടുപിടിക്കാൻ നോക്കുക. But what we essentially find out is that actually and then at some point in that movie the mom comes back, so then now you are like confused, you are like what is happening? Because at the same time you also find that Nazria in her attempt to find more about this is speaking not just to Basil, she's also speaking to the sister Diana and she's trying to understand. അപ്പോൾ ഈ ഡയാന മെസ്സേജൊക്കെ റിപ്ലൈയും ചെയ്യുന്നുണ്ട്. ബട്ട് വാട്ട് എസെൻഷ്യലി ഹാപ്പൻസ് ഇസ് ദാറ്റ് ഡയാന ഇസ് ദ വൺ ഹൂ വാസ് ആക്ച്വലി കിൽഡ് ബിക്കോസ് ഷീസ് മൂവ് ടു ന്യൂസിലാൻഡ് ആൻഡ് ഷീസ് ആക്ച്വലി എന്താ പറയുക എ ലെസ്ബിയൻ. സോ ഷീസ് വിത്ത് somebody else there. She's with her business partner who's also a lady, and then they're living there and they have adopted a child there. So ഈ അമ്മയാണ് ആക്ച്വലി എല്ലാം മാസ്റ്റർ മൈൻഡ് ചെയ്ത് വേർ ഷീ വാണ്ടഡ്, ബിക്കോസ് കുടുംബത്തിന് ചീത്തപ്പേരാ. ബിക്കോസ് ദേ ഓൾസോ ഷോ ദാറ്റ് ഇവർ ഫാമിലി ആയിട്ട് ബിസിനസ് ചെയ്തുകൊണ്ടിരിക്കുക വർഷങ്ങളായിട്ട്. സോ ദേ ഹാവ് ലൈക്ക് XYZ or whatever, ഭയങ്കര പേര് കേട്ട കുടുംബമാണ് ആൻഡ് ഓൾ ദോസ് തിങ്സ്. സോ ദേ വോണ്ട് ടു മെയിൻറ്റെയിൻ ദാറ്റ് ദേ ആർ ലൈക്ക് ഇതിപ്പോൾ നമ്മൾ കുടുംബക്കാർക്ക് മാത്രമേ അറിയുള്ളൂ. So they don't want this to go out anywhere, because obviously after a point of time people will start asking questions, എന്താ മോളെ കല്യാണം കഴിപ്പിക്കുന്നില്ല, whatever, that kind of stuff. So അതാണ് premise of the movie, or like basically story of the movie, this thing. അപ്പോൾ ഇതിൽ what really worked is obviously this whole misdirection or misleading us, trying to, because we think one thing and then something else is happening altogether. So that I think was very interesting. I really liked Basil's performance. I think he was really good. He's very nice as that Nadan guy talking to people, like അവരെയൊക്കെ ചെറുതായിട്ട് he's trying to like influence them, get them in his good books, whatever. But they also show that he is a little sadistic by nature, because അവൻ പൂച്ചയെ കല്ലെറിയുന്നു, പിന്നെ അവൻ ഉടുമ്പിനെ കൊന്നിട്ട് ഇവരെ ബീഫാന്ന് പറഞ്ഞ് തീറ്റിക്കുന്നു, whatever, all these things.
But that scene I didn't understand why he did that, or
just to show what kind of character. So you would also think, right, like generally നമ്മൾ ഒരാളെ കൊല്ലാന്ന് പറയുന്നത് it's not an easy thing, or it's not something you would essentially be ready to do, but he was doing it because first thing is, of course, he's very attached to his mom. He's like അമ്മയ്ക്ക് വേണ്ടി എന്തും ചെയ്യും. Secondly, he is also a little sadistic person, like ഇങ്ങനെ ആൾക്കാരെ വെറുതെ ഇങ്ങനെ മിസ്ലീഡ് ചെയ്ത് കുറച്ച് ഇങ്ങനെ ബുദ്ധിമുട്ടിക്കുക.
He's not eating that stuff, then why
അതാ പറഞ്ഞേ, അതൊരു സഡിസ്റ്റിക് പേഴ്സൺ ചെയ്യുന്ന ഒരു കാര്യമാണല്ലോ.
This is one thing I thought about. So maybe he is actually giving them beef, and the other thing he used to check acid work ചെയ്യണമെന്നുള്ള.
അത് പോസിബിൾ ആണ്. ഇറ്റ്സ് എ തിയറി. ഷുവർ, ഇറ്റ്സ് പ്രോബബിൾ. But anyway, I mean, it's whatever. It's an aspect of the movie this is showcased to us. But yeah, his performance I think was good. I was telling Paru also that I would actually really be interested in seeing him do an extremely serious role. I mean, this was more or less, I think, a serious role. Like, I don't really find...
I think Jaya 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 Hai was also similar to this.
Yeah, but Jaya 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 Hai also had elements of comedy. Like, there was comical aspects to his character. Like, korchaka comedy he was doing. Idile, it was not as much at all. He was much more of a serious character. I think, except for few exchanges with Siddharth Varadhan, it was a mostly a serious
that he is serious, but it's a dark humor.
Namakka situation is funny for us, that's all. But I found, especially, that scene where he confronts Nasriya after she jumps into the... അതൊക്കെ ഭയങ്കര സട്ടിൽ സീനാ. ലൈക്ക് ഹീസ് ഓബ്വിയസ്ലി പിസ്ഡ് ഓഫ് അറ്റ് ഹെർ, ബട്ട് ഹി കാൺട്ട് ഷോ ഫുള്ളായിട്ട് അങ്ങനെ കാണിക്കാനും പറ്റില്ല, വളരെ നൈസായ രീതിയിൽ. സോ ഐ വുഡ് റിയലി ലവ് ടു സീ ഹിം ഡു എ റോൾ വെയർ ഇറ്റ്സ് ഇസ് കട്ട സീരിയസ്, ലൈക്ക് ഒന്നുമില്ല, പ്യോർലി സീരിയസ് റോൾ, ആൻഡ് ഹീസ് ലൈക്ക് എ റിയലി ബാഡ് ഗൈ. സോ ദാറ്റ് ഐ തിങ്ക് ഹി ക്യാൻ റിയലി പുൾ ഇറ്റ് ഓഫ്. ഹി ഡിഡ് എ ഗ്രേറ്റ് ജോബ്. Siddharth Varadhan
is on a break now.
No, I think he is doing till April. That's what I read. I don't know.
No, April vare cinema undu, but he stopped acting or something.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think he wants to direct one movie or other. There is something in the pipeline. So I think he wants to do that as well. But yeah, I think really good job. Siddharth Varadhan also I actually liked. He was a funny, fresh, funny character. I mean, I didn't expect him to do that kind of a role, but he did it. It was pretty funny. Baki Loraka, I think they did a fair job. Nazriya, I think we already spoke about. I was not fully convinced. She was not bad, but I was not fully convinced.
I think the problem was some dialogues were not good in the initial. I think initial section dialogues were not good, and I think towards the end, Nazriyade dialogues were more, I think, action ആയതുകൊണ്ട് it was better. But I think her dubbing or dialogue delivery is there's something off, what I felt.
So ഇതിലെ എൻ്റെ പ്രശ്നങ്ങൾ എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞാൽ, first thing, we spoke about her. Second thing is, now you start becoming a little bit Sherlock Holmes types, because you're like, whatever. Because the fact that they thought they could actually just kill somebody and then nobody would come asking for it is not fully believable for me, right? Like, sure, she is not in this country, she's come from some other country, but I'm sure in that country also she knows a lot of people, or she knows some people at least. Biggest example being her partner. So you assuming that they will actually not come to look for this lady is very far-fetched. Like, it's, or there, I mean, you can also argue and say that, okay, very ego is such that, they didn't think atrem ahead. But having said that, they planned everything else really well. It seemed off for me. And
No, I mean they are not such അത്രയും ക്ലെവർ ആൾക്കാരല്ല അവര്.
yeah,
That's the,
yeah. So
and if you see in the end they say like ഈ നാട്ടില് ആണുങ്ങളൊന്നും
yeah, something like that.
ആണുങ്ങളെല്ലാം പൊട്ടന്മാരാണ് എന്തോ.
Yeah. So that I felt was a little off. Then also that last sequence. So I appreciate the sensibility that she figured out where they would be with whatever this partner lady who they're trying to kill off. So basically in the story, guys, they're trying to commit the second murder, wherein this Diana's partner has come from New Zealand looking for her. So they're trying to kill her off as well. So Nazriya is in this thing to go and save her. But Nazriya, she figures out where it is, goes there. So I appreciate the sensibility that at that point of time she immediately calls the police, and then she's like, okay, police. Then she decides to go inside, which again I'm like, okay, you are inquisitive, okay, maybe, I don't know, it's a setup in the sense that they already show that she takes risk. She goes into other people's houses, avada keri nokki and all. But by this point I also feel like the stakes are much higher, right? Because now you know that there are killers that are there opposing you. So like, what is this chance that you're taking that you'll go and confront them or whatever, try to see, പിന്നെ ബേസിൽ പുറത്ത് വരുന്നു, പിന്നെ ഒരു വണ്ടി ഇടിച്ച് അതിൻ്റെ ഉള്ളിൽ. സോ ദാറ്റ് ആസ്പെക്ട് ഐ വാസ് ലൈക്ക്, മേബി ഐ ഡോണ്ട് നോ, മേബി ഇറ്റ് കുഡ് ഹവ് ബീൻ റൗണ്ടഡ് ഓഫ് എ ലിറ്റിൽ മോർ ഡിഫറെൻ്റ്ലി, ഐ ഫെൽറ്റ്. ബട്ട് യാ, ഐ തിങ്ക് ദോസ് ആർ പ്രൈമറിലി മൈ. ആൻഡ് ദെൻ ലാസ്റ്റിൽ ഇതേ ചുമ്മാ ഷോ ദാറ്റ് ആദ്യം ഇവളുടെ വണ്ടി ഇടിച്ചത് ഇവർ തന്നെയായിരുന്നു. അതിൻ്റെയൊക്കെ ഒരാവശ്യമില്ലായിരുന്നു. But like, I don't even know what you're trying to achieve by showing that, right? Like, so yeah, so these things make it not a perfect movie for me. Like, if I'm speaking so highly of Kishkindha, it's because I felt like I really can't figure there's nothing wrong with it. But while this was a good watch, I would still say that, okay, you know. But then yeah, I mean, chelpa nitpicking aanu parayam, but these were definitely issues with the movie. Good watch nonetheless. Yeah. നിനക്കും തോന്നി ഇതിൽ പിന്നെ മ്യൂസിക് അങ്ങനെ പറയാൻ മാത്രം ഉണ്ടായില്ല.
മ്യൂസിക് വാസ് ഡീസെന്റ്. ഐ തിങ്ക് ഇത് ക്രിസ്റ്റോ സേവിയർ ആണ്, മറ്റേ ബ്രഹ്മയുഗ ഒക്കെ ചെയ്യുന്നത്. സോ ഐ തിങ്ക് ഇതിലും ഹി ഹാസ് ട്രൈ ടു ഇൻകോർപ്പറേറ്റ് മറ്റേ വെസ്റ്റേൺ സ്റ്റൈൽ, ഒരു മറ്റേ നൈഫ് ഷോട്ട് പോലത്തെ ഒക്കെ മ്യൂസിക് പോലെ ഉണ്ട്. ബട്ട് ഇറ്റ് വാസന്റ് ബാഡ്.
Yeah, I think music-wise it was fine. I think editing was really good. I think.
I like the fonts and all. They show the message and stuff like that.
Yeah,
fresh there.
So there also they show, like, for example, there's this one message which Nasriya sends to that partner lady. Adile grammar okke thetta. But so they're trying to show that she's not someone who's like a polished person. But that's my problem. She doesn't feel like a non-polished person. She feels a little like whatever, that polishedness, which is a little problematic.
I think the Grace Anthony arnenge nice aayirunnu.
Probably, yeah. Yeah, because I think she would have done a fairly decent job. But ഇവർ ഈ പടം പ്രൊമോട്ട് ചെയ്തത് തന്നെ ആ ബേസിലും നസ്രിയയും വെച്ച് ഒരു പടം എന്നുള്ള രീതിയിലാണ് പ്രൊമോട്ട് തന്നെ ചെയ്തത്. ബട്ട് യു ആർ റൈറ്റ്.
നസ്രിയ ഐ തിങ്ക് കുറെ നാൾ കഴിഞ്ഞിട്ടാണ് തോന്നുന്നു ഇത് ലാസ്റ്റ് മൂവി വാസ് കൂടെ.
മലയാളത്തിൽ ഐ ഓണസ്റ്റ്ലി ഡോണ്ട് റിമെമ്പർ, ബട്ട് ഷീ ഡിഡ് വൺ തമിഴ് മൂവിയാണോ ഇൻ ബിറ്റ്വീൻ, മറ്റേ തമിഴോ തെലുങ്കോ,
മറ്റേ അൺടെസ്റ്റഡ്.
pretty funny movie, but
I think she has her limitation, but she does her part well. So
yeah, she does a decent job, but yeah, definitely has her limitations. I don't think she can. Maniyarayile Ashokanli udunda cameo appearance apparently.
No cameo undu.
Trans ആണ് അവസാനം ചെയ്തത് മലയാളം പടം. അത് കഴിഞ്ഞിട്ട് ഇപ്പോൾ ഇതാ ചെയ്തത്. അതിൻ്റെ ഇടയിൽ മറ്റേ അൻറ്റേ സുന്ദരാനിക്ക് ചെയ്തു, പിന്നെ ഇപ്പോൾ സൂക്ഷ്മദർശിനി. ഇൻട്രസ്റ്റ്.
I think supporting actors മറ്റേ ദീപക് പരമ്പോളസ് ഡീസെന്റ്.
മറ്റേ
പൂജ
മോഹൻരാജും പിന്നെ മറ്റൊരു കൊച്ചുണ്ടല്ലോ
മറ്റേ പ്രേമലൂല,
അഖില ഭാർഗവയുടെ. They also did a decent job. I felt like they had whatever funny elements.
ബേസിലിന്റെ സിസ്റ്റർ ആയിട്ട് അഭിനയിച്ച പെണ്ണ് was not good.
Diana. Yeah, but she didn't have a lot of role also, I felt, I guess. അതുകൊണ്ടായിരിക്കാം.
Yeah, maybe.
But yeah, also what I felt interesting about this movie was, while they portrayed it as a whatever Basil versus Nazria. It's not like a movie where like അവർ രണ്ടുപേരും ഒരു കപ്പിളോ പേരോ ഒന്നുമല്ല. In fact, they are not even related by any. They're just random neighbors. That's it. But still, it worked. Like it works that that's how they sold the movie. That was interesting. That was good. Yeah, but overall worth watching.
അപ്പോൾ താങ്ക്സ് ഗൈസ് ഫോർ ലിസണിങ് ടു ദ പോഡ്കാസ്റ്റ്. നമ്മൾ 2 നല്ല ത്രില്ലർ മൂവീസിനെ പറ്റി ഡിസ്കസ് ചെയ്തു. എന്താ ഓവറോൾ രണ്ടും നല്ല ഒരു വാച്ചാണ്. കിഷ്കിന്ദ ഇസ് മോർ ബെറ്റർ, ബട്ട് അതർവൈസ് സൂക്ഷ്മദർശിനി ഈസ് ഓൾസോ വർത്ത് വാച്ച്.
Worth a watch, yeah. Yeah, and we hope to do this a little bit more regularly, hopefully. And watch out for our next best of 2024 episode, probably coming out sometime next month.
Okay, see you.
Thanks. Thank you.